Prosecutors named the fraternity member that they claim helped cover up the death of Southern University student and Kenner native Caleb Wilson. They say that Winston Sanders, changed Caleb out of his clothing and removed him from the location where he died. Prosecutors also say that Sanders told all of the pledges to lie about what happened. Sanders is also accused of telling pledges that they were, quote, accomplices to Caleb Wilson's murder. Sanders is charged with felony hazing, obstruction of justice, and numerous counts of misdemeanor hazing. His bond is set at $95,000. All 5 hazing suspects are due in court next month.